Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mind for Life podcast. I'm Dr. Jeff Bogaczyk, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the pros and cons of artificial intelligence. The topic is AI making you a better communicator? Is artificial intelligence making you a better communicator? There are what are called technophiles and technophobes. By the way, this episode is sponsored by CharmXP. It is actually an AI-powered communication app that allows you to have difficult, strategic, persuasive communication in real time and get real feedback on your skills as a communicator. If you'd like access to it, you can find the link for it in the show notes. And this is an interesting topic because artificial intelligence, as you know, is everywhere. As I was just saying, there are three categorizations, if I can say it that way, of the adopters of technology. There are the technophiles. These are the people who think technology is the answer to all of our problems. I would put Elon Musk in that category. Technophile. Technology is going to solve every human problem. Technology is the benefit. It is God of humanity. There are those who are neutral on technology, who look at it as a tool to be used. There are positives and negatives, and then there are the technophobes. These are the people who are afraid of technology, who are hermits and think we should go back to the days when there was no technology, not realizing that throughout human history, there has always been technology. It just is a matter of what technology, because realize that the shovel and the rake are a technology. That is a tool that is an extension of humanity. And Marshall McLuhan, in his books, talks about a medium, a technology. Every technology is an extension of man. Exploring Media, I think is the name of the book. Exploring Media, the extensions of man. The rake is an extension of our fingers, right? The tire is a technology. It is an extension of our feet. It just extends what we do. The internet as an electronic technology is an extension of our brains, of our neural networks. And now we have AI, which is what? An extension of our intelligence, an extension of our ability to use knowledge to accomplish our own ends. And so what can you do with AI? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. And if you've been following along, you can now create videos that are realistic. You can use a prompt to have the AI create a realistic video. You can write emails. You can write social posts. You can get content. You can review books. You can edit your own writing. You can ask for summaries. You can even use AI in your difficult conversations, as we mentioned with the CharmXP app. So is it a good thing? Is it improving how we communicate? Is it improving human life? And I think it's dependent upon what you consider human life, what you consider humanity. Is it just making things faster? Of course, the technophobes are looking at things like the Terminator and the advance of artificial intelligence and the Matrix and all of these apocalypse happens when technology takes over and starts utilizing itself for its own ends rather than for our own human ends. And so the technophiles think that that's not going to happen. And there are people out there that are saying AI is going to be the destruction of humanity. And there are other people who are saying, yeah, it's not. And so how do we look at it? What should we think about AI? As you are probably aware, ChatGPT, Gemini, you've got Grok, you've got Meta AI. All of these companies are gravitating toward AI. Interestingly enough, a few years back, it was all about the metaverse, if you remember that. It was going to be this cloud-based social gathering place, and that thing has kind of like gone off into nowhere with the advance of AI. And these companies are billion-dollar companies, and now even if you've been reading up on the news lately, Mark Zuckerberg is investing billions and billions of dollars for a super intelligence development. So they are now going all in on super intelligence with Meta. And it is an interesting time, to say the least. People are using AI to reframe their text messages to make them sound funnier or more comforting or more direct, because they don't know how to do it themselves. And the truth of the matter is, the AI can do it better than any of us can unless you develop those skills. It's a better writer than you or I. It is a better communicator. Because what does AI really do? What's a large language model? A large language model is a computer that has been trained on books and books and books and reams and reams and reams of texted communication. It knows how words are related to one another. It knows how they should be used in sentence structures, and it knows when they are familiar, and it's been trained and trained and trained on patterns of words. If you want to go back to the archaeology of knowledge, there is something about this idea of these words, and words are defined by their relationships to one another. It's very difficult to define a word in isolation. We can only define a word in the sense that it is differentiated from one another. And so when you differentiate this word from this word, it's the differentiation that gives definition to a word. And so we're seeing all of this stuff. It's all over the place. It's everywhere now. You can't get away from it. So let me give you what I'm going to think are 3 of the pros and 3 cons. And you can add your own. And if you got other thoughts, throw them into the comments. What is the pro of AI? Number 1, speed and clarity, efficiency. AI helps you organize your thoughts. AI gives you ideas. It is a super brain. It is a brain more powerful than you or me or all of us combined. And in fact, it is all of humanity combined at this point, because it's been trained on a lot of knowledge. So AI does have the speed and clarity. If you're looking for ideas, if you're looking for thoughts, if you're looking for structures, if you're looking for frameworks, if you're looking for outlines, if you're looking for coding, it can do it all. It's a super brain. It helps to organize that. It can summarize things for you. You can ask it, please communicate this book like I'm a 5-year-old, so that you can understand it. It can draft long messages. It can outline posts. It can clarify complex points in such a way that they are easier to understand for you and I. It is great for busy people who need to find faster ways to do things, who need to find ways to be more efficient. And so, yeah, it gives you speed. Yeah, it gives you clarity, and it can do that extremely fast. Number 2, AI is good for language and tone enhancement. Some people do not have the communication skills to communicate effectively with their language, with the words that they speak. They don't have the vocabulary. They don't understand how to frame the tone of voice that's coming through in written communications as well as in speech communications. So the AI can rewrite all of that for you. You can say, I need to send this message and it needs to be more assertive. You can say, I need to send this email and it needs to be more diplomatic. You can say, I need to communicate this on a video and it needs to be more warm and friendly, and it will write it all in that tone of voice. You can even now program it to write it in your own authoritative voice and use the AI to be able to script out those things for you. It's very effective for helping people who have difficulties with understanding those, how should we call them, social cues, right? They don't have the capacity to be able to understand social cues well. They don't know how to communicate well. So that gives them a tool to be able to do that and do that effectively. And so it can do that for you and do it extremely well. It can write in the style of anybody you want. It can write novels. It can write books. It can assimilate massive amounts of information for you to be able to understand it. And number 3, this is where the Charm XP app comes in, and where I think it can be very helpful, because outsourcing your humanity to AI, I think, is problematic, and we'll talk about that in the cons of this. Just saying, in fact, there is a study of the first generation of people who have grown up under AI, used it the last several years in college. They can't write. They can't communicate. They don't have the capacity to do that and to do it well, because they have let someone else, or in this case, something else, do it for them. And what Charm XP does is it actually allows you to practice and utilize your own skills in such a way that you can develop them and improve them with feedback from the AI. So in the Charm XP app, you can have a conversation. You can talk to the artificial intelligence, and it is utilizing that conversation to analyze what you say and how you say it in such a way for you to accomplish the ends of whatever that conversation may be. If you're wanting to meet someone for the first time, if you're wanting to be warm and friendly and make a connection with someone, it can give you feedback on how well you did. If you're having to have an assertive conversation, you can tell somebody something and assert a boundary, it will give you feedback on how to do that and how to do that better. And so this thing can analyze what you're saying in real time and then give you feedback on how you can improve. That's very different from you just saying, yeah, do it for me. Okay, because I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn those skills. And those skills of communication, are important. They're vital, I would say, for our humanity. You are a communicator. In fact, that's one of the things that human beings do, is we relate. We relate to other people. And so you have to develop those skills if you're going to be successful, if you're going to be successful. And I'm not talking about just having a successful career. I'm talking about your interpersonal relationships with your future spouse or your kids or your family members or your friends. You can't outsource relating to artificial intelligence. And communication is relating. It's how we negotiate and relate in our relationships. And so the Charm XP app is a way to use that technology, and there's other apps out there like that as well, to help you grow and develop your skills. And that's where AI, I think, can be an incredible tool, is if you need to be able to be more effective in leadership communication, in being assertive, in communicating vision, in persuasion. This app will allow you to have those conversations and give you feedback on how well you're doing, so that what? So that you can improve. Because the goal is improving yourself so that what? So that you can relate better. Because you cannot be dependent on AI every time you need to talk to somebody about something difficult. You can't go in at this point, and I don't even think it's good to be able to outsource all of our relating to an intelligence. Because what are we left with as human beings? And that's where I think we get into the cons. Number one, the loss of authenticity. And I think this is, a philosophical question on what we think human beings are. What are we as human beings? Are we just a computer? Are we just a computer mind? I don't think we are. There's something unique about a human being that's distinctly different. You might call it a phenomenological difference if you are philosophical at all. We're not a mind. We're not a computer. We're not a program. We do have aspects of programming and conditioning, but we're different. We're biological. We are embodied. And the authentic voice that we have gets lost, especially as we outsource that to AI. I had a friend who did a PhD dissertation on outsourcing of memory, and he was doing this with like Google Cloud and the cloud-based the cloud-based environment. And now what we're seeing with AI is not just the outsourcing of our memory, but the outsourcing of our communication. And that's dangerous because communication is inherently human. It is how we relate to people. We are in an interpersonal world. One philosopher calls it the nature of human being itself. At the very nature of human being is being with one another. It is a very distinctive aspect of being a human being, and you cannot be with one another in that sense if your communication is outsourced to an artificial intelligence that is doing all of your communication for you. And this is the danger. The danger is that you outsource all of your communication to the point where you don't have the skills to be able to do it yourself, and it harms the deepest aspects of what it means to be a human being. You can't talk to someone. You can't relate to someone because you have outsourced those skills to the artificial intelligence. So you are losing your authentic voice, and you are losing, dare I say it, a part of you. You are giving away a part of your authentic self by giving away the very medium that allows you to become more authentic. By giving away your communication to artificial intelligence, you give away part of you because you're not developing those things that make you you. And you're becoming a less authentic version of yourself. So I think that, number one, that's a very, very big negative and where people need to worry about artificial intelligence. Number two would be the loss of cognitive development, the loss of critical thinking. I think this is a big one. As I mentioned, there was a study of people who have gone through and utilized artificial intelligence and have outsourced all of their writing to artificial intelligence. And what writing does, writing forces you to think in a linear and critical way. When you write, writing is the process of, as Neil Postman said, languaging. And languaging is really the process of thinking because we think in language. That's how we think. We think in language. We communicate to ourselves. We find difficulty thinking when we don't have the vocabulary for it. So why should you expand and grow your vocabulary? Because it allows you to think in new ways. It's interesting when people talk about like languages that have a greater bias towards certain types of thinking. The German language is very biased towards philosophy, right? That's why there are a lot of great philosophical, in Greek as well. That's why there were a lot of great Greek philosophers and a lot of great German philosophers, because the language allows for it. And so by increasing your vocabulary, by increasing your language, you expand your process to think. In fact, philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein said this: the limits of my language are the limits of my world. And when you outsource your language and outsource your writing and outsource your communication, you limit your world. You limit, and people are willingly doing that. And so when you don't write and you let the AI write everything for you, you lose the capability and capacity to think critically. When you lose the capacity to think critically, you are easily manipulated by propaganda. And so that is a very, very dangerous place to be. And we can see that happening already, that people are losing those cognitive faculties. It came out in a study. They're losing that because they're outsourcing the very thing that develops those faculties in our mind, which is languaging and writing. Those are the things that develop those cognitive faculties, and we are outsourcing that. And because it's easier, it's more efficient, it's faster, it does it better than we do, we give it away, and we don't recognize the Faustian bargain, right? As Neil Postman also said, technology giveth and technology taketh away. When you give out your writing, when you give out your languaging, you are giving something up, and that is very dangerous when it comes to your thinking, your faculties, your ability to reason, and your susceptibility to propaganda. So be careful about that. Everybody, this is where the technophiles don't recognize how that works. They don't understand that aspect of it. They just think technology is the savior, that the next technology is the savior. The next this is going to save us, like technology is going to solve human problems. Well, it won't. I can promise you that. Humans are more complex, and technology is not a simple solution. It never has been, and it never will be. And so that's the second one, is that you are outsourcing your critical thinking and your ability to think to an artificial intelligence, and that's a dangerous place to be. And the third one is, of course, the Terminator, right? The whole world's going to end, and we don't know what we're doing when we are allowing a technology to have unfettered access and to develop itself. I'm not certain, though, that artificial intelligence will turn into the Terminator. Of course, as the capabilities expand, and it will have greater ability to do things. Now it has access to the web. Will artificial intelligence be programmed as a computer virus to go in and wreak havoc on, infrastructures and things? Of course, that's a possibility. Is there a way to prevent that? I doubt it. I don't know that those things necessarily will determine the end of civilization or humanity as we know it. And in fact, it's interesting, if you have ever read Noam Chomsky, who was a very famous linguist, he talks about large language models and how they are very different from humans. And really it comes down to the critical thinking piece, because language is a thought process. It's how we think. Computers can't think. They just recognize patterns and put patterns back together. They're not capable at this point of an authentic thought. They just know large language systems and what sounds whatever way, and they're able to then rephrase that language. But there is the potential, and I'm not certain that it will get there, but perhaps it will, that it will get there. And so I think that is a con for artificial intelligence, that it takes everything over and that we cannot control it, that we are not able to rein it in when it goes beyond what our expectations are. And so I hope that's been helpful for you. If it has been helpful for you, or if you know somebody who it would be helpful for, please consider sharing it with them. And thanks so much for watching. Tune in next time.